Good morning slash afternoon slash evening, everyone. I want to talk about something today that we've all experienced but rarely discuss: being ignored. Whether it's a friend, a colleague, or someone you deeply care about, that cold silence can feel like a deep cut to the soul. Why does being ignored hurt so much? Neuroscience tells us that social rejection lights up the same areas of our brain as physical pain. That means being ignored literally hurts us. We are wired for connection. Our very survival, from infancy, depends on it. So, when someone dismisses our presence, it can trigger deep feelings of shame, unworthiness, and self-doubt. But here's the thing. The pain of being ignored is not proof that we are unworthy. It's proof that we are human. Understanding why it happens. When someone ignores us, our first instinct is to personalize it. What did I do wrong? Why am I not good enough? But the truth is, silence is often more about the other person than it is about us. People ignore others for different reasons. They may be overwhelmed with their own struggles. They may not know how to handle emotions in a healthy way. They may even be using silence as a form of control. None of these reasons are a reflection of our worth. The role of vulnerability and boundaries. The real question is, how do we respond? We have two choices. We can let the silence consume us, making up painful stories about why we're not enough. Or we can lean into courage. That might mean having an honest conversation, saying, "Hey, I noticed some distance between us. Is everything okay?" It might also mean setting boundaries, recognizing when a relationship is no longer serving our well-being. Owning our story. What we cannot do is let someone else's actions define our self-worth. Our value is not dependent on someone's attention, response, or approval. The most powerful thing we can do is to own our story, to say, "I am enough," even when someone chooses to walk away. Conclusion. So, the next time you feel ignored, remember this. You are seen. You are valued. You are worthy of love and belonging. Do not let silence convince you otherwise. Instead, choose to respond with courage, self-respect, and an unwavering belief in your own worth. Thank you. Being ignored can feel like one of the deepest emotional wounds we experience. It's not just about the silence itself, it's about what that silence means to us. When someone ignores us, it can trigger feelings of shame, self-doubt, and unworthiness. We start questioning ourselves. Did I do something wrong? Am I not important enough? Do I even matter? Psychologically, being ignored is a form of social rejection, and our brains interpret rejection as a real threat. Research shows that the same regions in our brain that process physical pain also activate when we experience social exclusion. This is why it feels so painful. It's not just in our minds, it's in our bodies. For many of us, being ignored doesn't just hurt in the moment, it can bring up old wounds. Maybe it reminds us of childhood moments when we felt invisible, or past relationships where we were dismissed. It can also create a fear of abandonment, making us hesitant to trust others. But here's the truth. Someone ignoring you does not define your worth. The pain is real, but it is not proof that you are unlovable or inadequate. It's a call to practice self-compassion and remind yourself that your value is not determined by someone else's attention. You said. Expand the second keynote without headings and intro of keynote up to 200 words. ChatGPT said. Our need for connection isn't just emotional, it's biological. From the moment we are born, our survival depends on being part of a group. This is why social rejection, including being ignored, feels so painful. Our brains are wired to interpret exclusion as a threat, triggering the same neural pathways that process physical pain. Studies using brain imaging have shown that when a person is rejected or ignored, the brain's anterior cingulate cortex, the same region activated when we experience physical injury, lights up. In other words, our brain treats being ignored like a wound. This response is deeply rooted in evolution. In early human history, being excluded from a group meant vulnerability, danger, and even death. Over time, our brains developed a heightened sensitivity to social rejection as a survival mechanism, ensuring that we remained part of the community. Today, even though we are not facing life or death situations in the same way, the emotional impact of being ignored still triggers this ancient survival response. Understanding this helps us reframe our reactions. Instead of seeing rejection as a personal failure, we can recognize it as a natural human experience, one that is painful but not a reflection of our worth or importance. You said, expand the third keynote without headings and intro of keynote up to 200 words. ChatGPT said, when someone ignores us, our instinct is to take it personally. We start crafting stories in our minds, assuming that their silence must mean we did something wrong or that we are not important enough. However, the truth is that people ignore others for a variety of reasons, many of which have little to do with us. Sometimes, people withdraw because they are dealing with personal struggles. Stress, anxiety, or emotional overwhelm can make someone retreat, not because they want to hurt us, but because they don't have the capacity to engage. Other times, ignoring is a learned coping mechanism. Some people were never taught how to handle difficult emotions or conversations, so they avoid them altogether. There are also situations where silence is used as a form of control, a way to manipulate or assert power over someone. By recognizing these possibilities, we can shift from self-blame to understanding. This doesn't mean excusing hurtful behavior, but it does mean realizing that another person's silence is a reflection of their emotional state, not our worth. Instead of internalizing the pain, we can choose to approach the situation with curiosity, compassion, and, when necessary, firm boundaries.